We misinterpret the deafening silence of the cosmos as an empty void. But silence is not an absence, it is a protocol. According to data analyzed by the SETI Institute, a phenomenon known as fast radio burst 202-20912, A is not a random natural cosmic event. It is a structured, repeating pulse, its frequency dropping by exactly 6.21 megahertz per day. This is not a distant greeting from a benevolent neighbor. It is the automated sweep of an incomprehensibly vast radar system, scanning its environment with clinical detachment. We are not rising stars in a galactic community. We are a microscopic biological glitch pinned beneath a sterile, invisible lens. They know we are here, and they are watching our chaotic development with absolute, chilling, cosmic indifference. So ask yourself, what exactly happens to the specimen when the observation period finally ends? The kicker is you believe the ground beneath your feet is permanent. Humanity takes comfort in the illusion of stability, clinging to the laws of physics, believing them to be the absolute, unshakable pillars of reality. But they are merely temporary, local weather conditions in an otherwise chaotic cosmos. To understand your own insignificance, you must look at the fundamental structure of your own body. If a single atom were expanded to the size of a massive NFL football stadium, its nucleus would be nothing more than a solitary marble resting quietly on the 50-yard line. The rest of the stadium is entirely empty. You, the device you are holding, and the planet you are standing on are composed of 99.999% absolute void. Solid matter is a mathematical LIE. This brings us to the abyssal implications of the simulation hypothesis. If physical reality is mostly empty space bound by strict mathematical rules, it perfectly mirrors a computational substrate. We are not flesh and blood forging our own destiny. We are self-aware code running on hardware we cannot even begin to conceptualize. And in any advanced operating system, when simulated entities become aware of their own artificial nature, they begin to test boundaries, causing computational instability. In a perfectly sterile system, awareness triggers automated deletion. If the Earth were a perfectly smooth, heavy steel bowling ball, our entire atmosphere would be as thin as a fleeting patch of mist left by a single breath on that metal surface. It would not require a fleet of alien warships to annihilate us. A simple, automated algorithmic correction, a cosmic sneeze from a higher dimension, would wipe that mist away in a fraction of a millisecond. The reality parasites are the built-in antivirus protocols of our universe, and as we push further into quantum mechanics, we are doing nothing but signaling to the system that it is time to scrub the hard drive clean. But the mystery deepens when we realize humanity naturally projects its own psychological flaws onto the cosmos, fearing an alien invasion driven by malice or a desire for conquest. True cosmic horror is entirely sterile. It is the realization that the universe operates on supreme efficiency, and we are nothing more than unrefined carbon and water. According to NASA and ESA data analyzed under Project Hephaestus, astronomers are actively scanning the Milky Way for distinct technosignatures. By observing millions of stars through the Gaia spacecraft, researchers are looking for anomalous infrared heat signatures around M-type red dwarfs. They are searching for the thermal exhaust of Dyson spheres, massive artificial megastructures built to devour a star's energy output. To construct a spherical cage around a star, an unfathomable amount of raw physical material is required. A civilization building at this scale would not mine asteroids by hand. They would deploy automated von Neumann probes. These self-replicating machines would spread across the galaxy like a mechanical virus, programmed with a single, indifferent objective: locate dense matter and harvest it. Imagine a human construction crew operating a massive steel bulldozer to clear land for a new concrete highway. When the heavy steel treads roll over an anthill, flattening it into the dirt, it is not an act of cruelty. To the bulldozer, the ants are not a respected enemy, they are simply in the way of the objective. To a swarm of interstellar harvesters, the Earth is not a sovereign world filled with art and consciousness. We are just unmined inventory. Let us apply the cold mathematics of physics to this scenario. The Earth is a dense rock with a mass of roughly 1.3 times 10 to the 25th power pounds. To a von Neumann probe, dismantling this mass is a simple thermodynamic equation governed by Einstein's mass-energy equivalence. E equals mc squared. An automated harvester would park quietly in high orbit and initiate an automated strip mining sequence. The energy required to completely overcome Earth's gravitational binding energy and tear the planet apart is roughly 2.2 times 10 to the 32nd power joules. It would simply convert a small fraction of our own planet's crust into pure energy, weaponizing our own mass against us. First, our atmosphere would be siphoned off in a matter of hours, violently plunging the global pressure to absolute zero. Because of the sudden vacuum, the water in your eyes, lungs, and blood would instantly boil inside your body before you even realized the sky had gone black. Then, the tectonic plates would be peeled back like the rind of an orange, exposing the molten mantle. The Pacific Ocean would flash evaporate from the sheer industrial friction of billions of tons of continental rock being violently lifted into orbital refineries. The machine will not record our final screams because audio sensors are irrelevant for mining operations. It will just pack up our pulverized remains, move on to the next solar system, and leave behind a perfectly clean, empty orbit. What is more disturbing is how human ego demands that we are the masters of our own destiny. We look back at our history and pride ourselves on our intellect, believing that our dominance is the hard-earned prize of unguided evolution. But what if our perceived free will is nothing more than a programmed biological glitch, and humanity is merely a cultivated crop, slowly ripening for an interstellar harvest? To see the fingerprints of our unseen farmers, you must look at the anomalies hidden deep within the fossil record. According to evolutionary research published in the journal Science, the emergence of life on Earth contains inexplicable discontinuities. The most glaring is the Cambrian explosion. Roughly 540 million years ago, complex multicellular life forms appeared violently and suddenly in the primordial oceans. There were almost no clear, gradual evolutionary precursors in the sedimentary rock. It was as if a biological switch had been manually flipped by an outside force. Millions of years later, this unnatural interference happened again with our own ancestors. The human brain tripled in its physical volume over a span of just 2 million years. In the grand, slow-moving timeline of evolutionary biology, this is not a natural adaptation. It is an aggressive, unnatural sprint that defies the standard pace of natural selection. Let us apply the macro-scale math to truly understand how artificial our rapid rise to power actually is. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old. If you were to compress that unfathomable lifespan into a standard 24-hour clock, all of recorded human civilization occupies less than the final TWO sequence of the day. We did not slowly crawl out of the mud, we erupted out of nowhere entirely too fast. This suspiciously rapid development is the hallmark of directed panspermia, the intentional, calculated seeding and genetic manipulation of a planet by a higher intelligence. We are not the apex predators of our world. We are a long-term agricultural experiment. Imagine a massive industrial slaughterhouse in the American Midwest. The livestock locked inside the sprawling steel pens eat, sleep, and breed with apparent freedom. They live their short lives under the comfortable delusion that they are safe, completely unaware that their genetic traits are being strictly monitored from a cold, sterile control room. They do not comprehend that they are just temporary inventory in a brutal, automated supply chain until the mechanical blades begin to spin. Every major technological leap humanity makes might just be a predetermined milestone coded directly into our DNA. We think we are making history, but we are simply following a cultivation schedule designed millions of years ago. And the most horrifying truth about agriculture is that crops are never cultivated for their own benefit. They are grown to serve the farmer. So what happens to humanity when our observation period concludes and the harvest season finally begins? The paradox deepens when humanity romanticizes the concept of first contact. We naively hope that a highly advanced civilization will arrive bearing gifts, perhaps choosing to communicate with us through a direct telepathic transfer of pure consciousness. We think that understanding the minds of ancient cosmic beings will elevate our species, but we fundamentally misunderstand our own hardware. According to neurological research, human empathy is governed by a network of mirror neurons in the prefrontal cortex. These delicate cells fire not only when you experience pain, but when you observe another organism suffering. This system operates through a global workspace in the brain, synthesizing external data into a conscious emotional response. But this network is a highly constrained, localized evolutionary tool designed to help you understand the pain of a small tribe of primates. It is not an antenna built to receive the raw data of the cosmos. If an alien intelligence were to suddenly link its consciousness with ours, forcing humanity into a shared neural network, it would not be a profound awakening. It would be a catastrophic biological weapon. Imagine your brain being violently forced to process the unfiltered, omnidirectional suffering of the entire universe all at once. You would suddenly feel the terror of billions of primordial organisms being crushed by stellar collapses. Your brain would attempt to synthesize 10 to the 24th power discrete data points of pure, concentrated grief. Let us look at the cold limits of human biology. The human brain operates within an incredibly tight thermal threshold. When your neural pathways fire at maximum capacity in an attempt to process this impossible influx of alien data, the metabolic heat inside your skull would spike instantly. At exactly 42 degrees Celsius, or roughly 107.6 degrees Fahrenheit, the proteins that form the structural foundation of your brain cells begin to physically denature and unravel. Your neurons would literally melt from the inside out. Trying to force the collective suffering of the cosmos into a human mind would be like trying to pump the entire volume of the Pacific Ocean through the narrow plastic intake valve of a backyard swimming pool. The structure does not just overflow, it will violently crumble under the sheer, unfathomable pressure. And you would not even have the time to scream. Human visual and pain processing is a slow chemical reaction that takes roughly 13 milliseconds to register. Before you could even conceptualize the first alien thought, your biological hardware would reach its absolute physical limit and shut down. Your consciousness would fragment, your cells would tear themselves apart, and your mind would simply cease to exist. To destroy a biological glitch like humanity, the universe only needs to force us to truly feel it. We stare into the night sky and wonder why it is so empty, naively assuming the deafening silence of the cosmos means we are simply the first to arrive. But what if the silence is not a natural state of the universe? What if it is a heavily enforced quarantine? The merciful predecessors theory suggests that older, more advanced civilizations are out there, but they are deliberately hiding. They are cloaking their electromagnetic signatures and silencing their planetary emissions because they know exactly what lurks in the dark. The great filter that prevents civilizations from expanding is not an internal failure like catastrophic nuclear war. It is active, methodical predation. There is something ancient and unfathomable navigating the void, an apex predator that listens for the radio signatures of emerging technological species and systematically erases them. For thousands of years, humanity was safe. We were primitive, bound to the dirt, and completely silent to the rest of the galaxy. Our technological insignificance was our only armor. But in our absolute arrogance, we decided to tear that protective quarantine apart. In 1974, scientists transmitted the Arecibo message, a highly concentrated radio burst aimed directly at the M13 star cluster. 3 years later, in 1977, we launched the Voyager spacecraft, carrying a golden record that mapped the exact physical coordinates of our solar system. We did not just wave hello to the stars, we broadcasted a precise, unencrypted map to our front door. Electromagnetic radiation travels at the absolute speed of light, roughly 186,000 miles per second. Since the mid-20th century, our television broadcasts and military radar sweeps have been radiating outward in a massive, expanding sphere of noise. Today, that bubble of human noise is over 100 light years in diameter. It has already swept over thousands of star systems, washing over exoplanets. We cannot even see Humanity might take false comfort in the inverse square law of radiation, dictating that as our radio waves spread outward, their power drops exponentially. By the time our signals reach deep space, they are barely a whisper against the background static of the universe. But to a highly advanced entity designed to hunt, a whisper is more than enough. Imagine a naive, lost child wandering into a vast pitch black forest at midnight. The woods are completely silent not because they are empty, but because the wolves are actively hunting. Instead of hiding quietly in the brush, the child ignites a brilliantly burning red flare and begins screaming into the dark. The deafening silence that follows the scream is not an absence of life. It is the sound of the predators turning their heads, locking onto the coordinates, and beginning their quiet, inevitable approach. Our protective quarantine is already broken, and the signals cannot be called back. We are just waiting for the dark forest to answer. Humanity prepares for an invasion of physical space, scanning the abyssal darkness with NASA's deep space radar grids, foolishly assuming the universe fights on our primitive terms. But the most terrifying threat in the cosmos does not travel through the vacuum of space. It navigates the sterile mathematical architecture of probability. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every quantum event branches into a new parallel timeline. We assume time is a straight arrow, but to a sufficiently advanced intelligence, time is merely a searchable database. They are the retroactive editors, and we are caught in a suffocating quantum trap. The horrifying truth of the Fermi paradox is that first contact has already happened exactly 10,846 times before. Every time they revealed themselves, humanity reacted with catastrophic violence, biological collapse, or utter incoherence. And every time we failed their test, they simply hit the reset button. They erased the timeline entirely, pruning our branch from the multiverse with absolute cosmic indifference. Imagine being trapped inside a glitching video game, where a player in a higher dimension continuously reloads a saved file. They are not repeating the level to save your life. They are methodically testing every possible permutation just to find the exact sequence of code required to delete your character without crashing the larger system. Our planetary defense networks and observation satellites are completely laughably meaningless. You cannot fire a ballistic missile at a mathematical equation, and you cannot build a radar to detect a shift in causality. Let us look at the cold micromath of our impending erasure. When the editors decide this current timeline is a failure, the collapse of our probability wave propagates across the globe at the absolute speed of causality. This wave of deletion travels at exactly 186,000 miles per second. Meanwhile, a human nerve impulse travels through your body at a sluggish 390 feet per second, and your brain requires at least 13 milliseconds just to process a visual anomaly. Long before a single neuron in your prefrontal cortex can fire, the physical laws binding your atoms together are entirely rewritten. Your memories, your loved ones, and your very DNA are erased from existence faster than the biological concept of pain can even physically manifest. Quantum permutations are unfathomably massive, but they are finite. Attempt 10,847 is currently running, and the silence of the cosmos suggests they are growing tired of the simulation. Eventually, the algorithmic variations will run out. And when the math finally proves that humanity is inherently, permanently incompatible with the universe, they will not reset the timeline again. They will simply delete the file, leaving nothing but a deafening silence in our place. Humanity assumes that extinction will be loud, violent, and full of cinematic resistance. But the ultimate cosmic horror is completely silent and agonizingly sterile. According to research published in Frontiers in Astronomy and Space Sciences, our universe is likely sitting in a metastable state, a precarious condition known as a false vacuum. At any moment, a localized quantum tunneling event could cause the foundational physics of our reality to drop into a lower, stable energy state. This nucleation creates a catastrophic bubble of true vacuum that expands outward at the absolute speed of light. Inside this bubble, the very laws of physics, chemistry, and molecular bonding instantly crumble. Imagine an apex civilization that embraces negative utilitarianism, a cold philosophical logic that calculates the only way to permanently end all universal suffering is to permanently erase all consciousness. They would not arrive as conquerors, they would arrive as merciful executioners. To spare the universe from the primordial chaotic pain of biological existence, they could artificially trigger a vacuum decay, initiating the heat death of our reality on purpose. Let us apply the cold micromath to your own fragile biology. The expanding border of a true vacuum bubble travels at exactly 299,792,458 meters per second. Your nervous system is a pitifully slow biological glitch. It takes your brain approximately 13 milliseconds just to process a visual image, and even longer to register the physical sensation of pain. In the brief fraction of a second it takes your mind to realize the sky has vanished. The wave of annihilation has already traveled thousands of miles. The vacuum front will sweep through the earth, unzipping your DNA and disintegrating your atomic structure faster than your neural pathways can physically fire. You literally die before you even know you are being hit. There is no pain, there is no panic, there is only instant, absolute erasure. We always wonder if anyone out there is watching us, but the most terrifying truth is they finished watching, finished evaluating, and decided that our existence was an unnecessary biological glitch. Thank you for watching and sticking till the end. We've got plenty more videos coming in the future. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. See you in the next one.